All right, ladies and gentlemen, so now that you have done all three of your thumbnail sketches, you're going to pick your favorite and you've gotten approved. So now you're going to take your approved thumbnail and you're going to enlarge it. So one, as you're enlarging, you should be working in pencil. You should work lightly in pencil in case you make a mistake so that you can erase. Now, just like we did before, we're going to do things in the same order, just because it's going to keep things in a good, it's going to keep it a little easier for you to get everything the right size and the right shape and in the right place. So you want your rough and your final to match. So you're going to start with your border. So I'm going to look at how thick is my border. Now for this one, it was thicker on this side, so I'm going to lightly make sure I've got a nice thick border on this side and make it a little thinner over here. Now one thing I just did do and I forgot to say is you notice that my drawing is going horizontally. It is going landscape. I also have my final paper set up landscape so that I don't change my composition by turning it the wrong direction. So I started my two borders. This border here and this border here should be about the same size. So I'm using my fingers to measure. I'm keeping everything super light. So if you can't see it right now, you should barely be able to see it in this video. So I did that first. Then the next thing that we drew, remember, was your tree. So I'm going to draw my tree. I'm going to start with my trunk. Comes up, and I've got my one little root up here. Now where it overlaps, I'm going to take an eraser. And I can even take one of the big art erasers if my own eraser doesn't work very well. And I'm going to make sure that where my tree overlaps my border, it's not see-through. So I can start doing that and erasing where it overlaps. So I've got that one branch. I'm going to go one branch at a time. So I'm looking over here. Where's my next branch? My next branch comes down here, comes up from here. So I want to make sure my branches stay in about the same spot so that they fill the same amount of space. Now if I want to change my shape of my branches a little bit, you can. But you want to make sure they're filling up the same amount of space. I'm breaking up that background space. So you're going to go in, draw your tree. Make sure it's filling the same amount of space. Then, once you've got that, you can go in and draw your images. Make sure they fill up the same amount of space. So I've got this thing here, nice and big in the edge, and it goes up and over into my needle. So I'm going to draw each of my shapes. I'm going to draw each of my shapes nice and big. Then I am going to draw to make sure that all of my shapes are there. So I've got them all, they're all still overlapping, they're all still the right shape. Then, once I've gotten all of those in, so I'm still missing this one here, that has to be nice and big. See, I'm keeping all of this really light. This one here, nice and big. They're not really detailed yet. I'm just getting the sizes. This one here, nice and big. So everything's still very sketchy. Once you have everything and it's kind of in the right spots, then you can go in and start making things detailed. So you can start making things darker. You can go in and make sure that your shapes are right. So see, I'm making it darker so it's more visible. Then, once I've done that, I can go in and I can add the font inside my tree. I can do it light at first, make sure it fills the same amount of space. Then once all that's done, I can go in and take my time and do it nice and neatly and do my pattern in my border. So I'm working just like I did before, where I'm doing the big things first. I'm doing my border first, my tree first, my images. Then I'm doing my fonts and patterns and details and making things darker so that I am ready to move on to color. So you need to draw yours nice and big and make sure everything starts out light but eventually gets darker and more detailed so that you are ready for your color plan.